Hey, I'm Mitch, and this is Telephone Tuesdays. We talk about all good things telephone.
Just a moment, please. Your call's been diverted.
Today, we're talking about pranks. Pranks that people would play on each other while they were working in the telephone exchanges. We got Sam Gooden putting oil on the earpiece of the Kostempski.
That's not coming off.
If you've got any telephone exchange pranks that you want to share, leave them in the comments below. The apprentices, of course, got the worst of it. If they weren't tied up with jumper wire and left in the female toilets, they'd be being sent down the hardware store to get a box of washer holes or a left-handed screwdriver. Alongside that, there were other harmless pranks, like throwing asbestos at each other. In between all the floors of the exchange, there were holes for all the cables to run through, and those holes had to be blocked up with something for fire safety. So they had bags full of white asbestos. It's worth noting, nobody knew quite how dangerous that was at the time. Next was the Mega. Their Megas were used to generate high voltage to test insulation resistance. And as you were pulling jumper wires through the MDF, your mates would be hooking up the other end to the Mega without you knowing. You touch the end and give yourself a nice little jolt. Pulling jumper wires through the MDF was a constant chore in the exchange. Generally, it'd be done in a pair. So one guy would be pulling the wire through and the other guy would be cutting it when it was to the correct length. And to signal that it would need to be cut, you'd shout, "Slack back!" So other engineers would walk past, shout, "Slack back!" at the wrong moment, listen for the snip of the wire, and then a string of expletives aimed at them. We got the classic one of screwing down your workmate's toolbox so he can't pick it up. Another classic is to task apprentices with pulling unused wires out of the exchange. They'd be confused because there'd be an endless amount of wire coming out till they went round the other side, saw a couple of their workmates sniggering. Little did they know that it was connected to a 200-metre coil of wire, and the engineers were taking bets on how long it'd take him to cotton on. Another fun game with the Mega was to take bets on how long you could hold on to the end of the cable for. So if you weren't annoyed enough with a black mark on your ear, a dislocated shoulder, you'd been electrocuted, had asbestos thrown at you, well, the old brown dust coats, they used to have a ventilation slit at the back that meant you could rip it up the back all the way to the collar. And it wasn't quite common to see them firmly stitched up. As ever, we want to hear all about your pranks and stories in the comments below. If you want to get more good telephone stuff and support the museum, then you can check out the Patreon link in the description. I will see you next Tuesday.